everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right over there is Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
I feel like we need a 'tis the season type, like, holiday song when spring comes around, you know?
I know.
Like, Christmas has all the great songs, right? Holidays have all the great songs. Does Easter have a song? I don't know about that. But it's spring organizing time, and man, that needs a song. It needs an animation, like a claymation special.
Yeah. Well, because it's an annual spring organizing show. I can say it's annual because I looked at the last shows from last year, and the last time I did like a spring organizing show was almost exactly a year from today. So it really has become an annual thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's
so
just the
this
way
is great because, I love talking about this stuff. So it's, it's just a happy thing.
It's a happy thing. It's a happy thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very excited about that. That we're back to talk organizing, and mostly, Nikki. I mean, I know you have all these prepared notes, but because it is an annual thing, I'm very excited in hearing what is different this year. In your organizing strategy. I mean, things change, and I'm feeling a real sense of loss from some of our organizing strategies of last year. So I'm very excited to continue.
Well, and I had to review the notes from last year because I didn't want to do the exact same show because that wouldn't really be fun for anyone to have the same show and say it's annual.
No, exactly. No, that's not great.
So I did switch it up, and I'm only really focusing on one piece of organizing. And so if people have questions or they want us to follow up more, about what I'm talking about, then we can certainly do more organizing shows. It doesn't have to just be once a year.
We're going to get started with the organizing in just a minute, but before we do that, head over to Take Control ADHD, get to know us a little bit better. Yes, if you don't know us well enough by now, you can listen to the show right there on the website, subscribe to our mailing list on the homepage, and get an email with each and every new episode. Connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD, and holy cow, Patreon. It has been so much fun to see the Patreon group start to grow and thrive, and the posts in our new Facebook private group have been inspiring and delightful. If you want in and you've been looking for a way to support the show and just couldn't figure out how to do it, now you can. You can sign up to help us continue to grow and thrive at patreon.com/theADHDpodcast. You'll get instructions to join the members-only group. You'll get access to the weekly live stream and so much more as we come up with it. And what's so great is that we're continuing to come up with it and change things, and it's been just really fun.
We are a work in progress.
We are a work in progress. Hallelujah. Amen.
We're very transparent about that. Yes.
Yes, we are. Patreon.com/theADHDpodcast. Thank you, everybody. Okay, Nikki, annual spring organizing show. Cue the sounds of the birds. I'm going to put birds in there.
And little storage containers. I don't know
Velcro
why that came to
and
mind, but
popping sounds, like the sounds. Oh, yeah.
But it's more than just storage containers.
Don't I ever? Don't I ever?
One of my pet peeves, actually.
Storage containers.
Don't go buy anything.
Now, look, storage containers for me are the entrapment of organizing, because I feel like they're luring me into doing things incorrectly in the wrong order. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
What they should be called?
What?
Clutter boxes.
Look at you.
I know. I just came up with that.
Just right off the top of your head.
Just on the top of my head.
Look at how fast that happens.
I should trademark it.
Oh, Nikki.
Patent pending.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they are. They're clutter boxes because they usually aren't used for the intention that they're supposed to be used.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's dig in here. And as we said, we want to make sure that we're doing something that's, different and new in our annual organizing show. You don't want to just repeat yourself over and over. So do you want to start off by talking about how your organizing journey has changed, or do you want to get through some stuff first?
I don't know. I mean, let's talk about that because that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Has it changed? Has my organizing journey changed? I think that the concepts of what I've been teaching clients for years now is the same. I mean, I think it is the same step-by-step process because I've made it very simple and I've tried to make it not as overwhelming and have really like kept, ADHD in mind. And so I think that the concepts have really stayed the same. What I think I'm learning more is not just the steps of organizing, but the emotional piece of getting started.
Yeah.
And the shame that has been filled with, embarrassment and why can't I get this done? And it never finishes. And why, I heard somebody even just say this week, why even bother? It's never worked before.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And so that's probably the piece that I've been more aware of this year with working with clients. Yeah. And, for myself personally, I just keep reminding myself to start small and just do something, and keep working on it. And because, it's frustrating in my house too. Believe me.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
For me, there are two pieces to that. The first is absolutely the emotional stuff. I mean, that always comes back around. That's like on a planetary orbit. I'm always going to feel that way when I try something like this. But the thing that I found myself really missing this year, it was actually a New Year's thing, which, we did the 30 days of
you didn't do that this year.
We didn't. And Nikki, I'm not kidding. I feel a hole in my life because the clutter gets out of control, and I have stuff that I need to move through my life. I need to move it on. I need it to find its way in the world, and I just didn't do that effectively this year, and I really miss it now when it's time for me to go in. I mean, I had to meticulously organize my closets right over there, and it was meticulously organized. But over the year, it has just blossomed. It is in bloom, as I like to say. It's in bloom. It's fully ripe, and it's ready. It's ready to clean. And so that, when I find that absence of a practical thing that I did, an act that I took, that fosters the feeling of just sort of shame, of that sort of cyclical shame. And so that is the first step for me, is just finding a way to get out from under that rock. And once I'm out from under that rock, I see hope again.
Well, absolutely. And I think that you have a lot of hope because you know that what you did before did work. And so now you just have to go back to something around that. Maybe you don't do exactly the same way as you did it a year and a half ago or whatever, but it worked, how important that was. And so, do that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretend it's January 1st. On May 1st, I challenge you to work on that closet.
Yes.
Get rid of some stuff.
I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm going to do it.
There's a lot of hope with organizing. And that's what I want to talk about today. Is I want to talk about kind of setting yourself up for success, because that's what we want to do, right? We don't want to go out and buy a bunch of clutter boxes. No.
Clutter boxes are bad.
Yes. And spring, why does spring organizing, spring cleaning? I don't really know why that is a thing. Probably because the weather's getting nicer, and I don't know. I didn't make that up. Spring cleaning has been there for years.
Well, yeah,
you know why? Where did it come from?
I actually don't know why, but my hunch is that it's just so much easier to. Maybe. I wonder if it has to do with something like the cycles of farming, of agriculture.
Yeah, maybe.
When things change, you have to clean out the. I've got a buddy. Next week. I'm going to be in Colorado on a bison ranch shooting a bison ranch, and there are certain activities that happen around the ranch, around getting ready for harvesting and seeding and all kinds of things that they do that are specific to spring. And I wonder if that has something to do with it. Totally off topic, because I could rat hole this for an hour.
I know.
But that's what it feels like to me. And that's what it feels like here.
Yeah.
You're finally to the point where you can open the windows and sweep out the barn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's spring.
It's spring.
Anyway, what I want to do is, first of all, acknowledge that organizing and ADHD are two things that don't go together very well.
Oh, high jump, low ceiling.
Yeah. So, let's acknowledge that you have ADHD. So organizing is going to be difficult. It's going to be a hard thing. It's going to be overwhelming. And you may question yourself on, a lot of things, because organizing is a lot of decision making, right? We don't realize how much, or how big of a role decision making is in organizing until you start to do it. And, getting started, all these executive functions that are challenges for ADHD, organizing is one of those executive functions. It's difficult. But living with clutter is also not a great thing.
More difficult.
Right? It's also difficult. It's frustrating. It's stressful. You lose so much time, looking for stuff that you can't find. Today, it's so funny because I did a blog post not too long ago about the keys. Guess where I found the keys today?
I don't know.
Let's just say, Pete, that my car keys, the ones that my husband and I share,
oh no,
are really clean.
Oh no,
because they went through the washer and the dryer.
Do you have a key? Do you have a key fob? Did you soak your key fob? Does it work?
What's a key fob?
The little buzzy thing, that unlocks the car. Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea if it works or not.
Those keys are super smart. You should check it and see if your car still unlocks.
It's probably broken.
No,
because we washed.
They're pretty resilient, but you do want to make sure because
yeah,
washing is not a gentle thing on electronics.
I
generally don't want to wash electronics.
I washed the remote control ones. Don't even ask. I washed the remote control and it broke. It didn't work after that.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, so we're totally off subject, but I just think that's funny because I did a blog post about keys and I found my keys when I was doing laundry this morning. So anyway, it is a battle that keeps going on and on.
A perennial fight.
Yeah, it is. But I have a good sense of humor.
Yes, you do.
So that's good. But yeah, clutter is definitely not good for our mental health. It does, going back to that shame and what it represents and embarrassment of not having, not wanting people to come over to your home. All of that stuff kind of goes into this. And it's important that we do something about it. And so, getting started, of course, is half the battle. This is something that we've talked about before. And if you do consider your ADHD, it makes perfect sense. Organizing is boring. It's not a lot of fun. It's time consuming. It's overwhelming. There's all those decisions. You're not sure what to do. That whole question again of it never worked before. Why are we doing it now?
I find that one in particular heartbreaking, right? Because that's not just about spring organizing. That's about, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting because that particular limiting belief is what I want to call it out as. Came up recently with someone and we talked very in depth about why that was coming up every single time for her. And it wasn't just about organizing her house. It was about a lot of things. And what is something else what's a different belief that you could believe that could shift that mindset? And you know what she said?
What she said?
Tomorrow is a new day.
Oh.
Now remember,
yeah.
What was it, 2 weeks ago?
Right.
2 or 3 weeks ago. Tomorrow is a new opportunity.
Yeah.
2 different people saying almost the exact same thing. So there's something there. People, listen to that.
I have to tell you, I had a thing. I went to bed just the other night and I was feeling totally frazzled, totally exhausted, and I was feeling that sense of overwhelm that comes with just looking at my task list and thinking, I'm a disaster. I'm a complete mess. I have people who are counting on me and I'm not delivering in as timely a fashion as I should be. I have people who are not counting on me for anything, and I still feel like I'm letting them down, right? I mean, come on. Remember, who was it who said, it was a punk band who said, remember, son, it's always better to feel guilty for something you have done than something you haven't done. And that was suddenly defining my life. I'm feeling guilty for stuff I haven't even done yet because my task list is so big. And I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to introduce peace back into my day. Tomorrow, I'm going to introduce peace. Tomorrow, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to stop. I'm going to intentionally meditate first thing in the morning, and I'm going to do that so that I can move faster later. I'm going to introduce peace, and that has become a little mantra that I've been shaking around in the back of my head for the last couple of days. And that works for me, and it puts a smile on my face. I need more peace in my life.
There you go. Oh, that's great. Thank you for adding
for what
that.
it's worth. For what it's worth.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's worth a lot. I do, because and that's, what we were saying at the beginning of the show. It's these emotions that are attached to these tasks that are the problem. It's not usually the tasks.
Truly.
So, I think that's really important to consider. So I'm glad you shared that. So going on to the organizing piece, one of the things that I always do before I teach a webinar, before I talk about organizing with clients and, on this podcast, is to really define what organizing means. What does this mean to you? Because, if you are thinking that your house needs to look like the magazine cover that you're seeing at the grocery store, or it has to look like, something that Peter Walsh has set up, or some other, professional organizer who's, that's their expertise, you're probably not going to set yourself up for success. And that's exactly what we don't want to do. We want to set you up for success. So you got to think about, what does this mean to you? And over and over again, my definition has always been just to find what you need when you need it. And, but it's not about perfection. It's not about clutter boxes. I love that. I'm going to say that all the time now.
You should take that and run with it.
I am. I'm running with it. Yeah. Clutter boxes. So really kind of decide, what is good enough? What is good enough for you? And what are you happy with? And this goes back to our tolerations, right? When we talked about tolerations long time ago.
I got a whole new oven.
Yeah.
Those who remember, that knob was a plague.
Oh, that knob. Yeah. Is your light fixed in the hallway?
Yes, the light is fixed. After 7 years, we have a new chandelier in the hallway. Yeah.
That's so
tolerations.
Nice. Yeah, tolerations. So that's what that's what you need to figure out with organizing.
I'm sorry to give it. That's a deep cut on this podcast. I don't think we've ever had deep cuts on this podcast where we go back so far in our own institutional memory that it's an inside joke people listening today may not get.
They probably have no idea.
I'm very curious if that one strikes a chord. I'm leaving it all in.
If you know anything about Pete's chandelier and stove, you'll have to write in and say, I remember that.
That's good.
You're right. Okay. Well, maybe we should actually, that brings up a good point. Maybe we should define what toleration means, because some people have listened to us that don't know what our tolerations were or what that even means.
Right? Okay. Why don't you go first?
Let's talk about that. So right now, I'm living a toleration. My house is a mess. It's dirty. It's it's just dirty. And so I have come to my limit. And so after we're done today, and I have a couple of clients this afternoon. So after I'm done with work, I'm going to be cleaning some of my house. Not all of it, because I just don't do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to clean the pieces of it that really bother me, because it is really at my limit of toleration. Like, I can't stand it anymore.
And you tend to run a fairly tight ship around your place. I mean, your house generally stays pretty tight. Every time I come over to your house, it's tight.
That's because you're a guest and you're coming over, so I clean it. Are you kidding me? If you were just to come over and be like, hey, I'm here, I'd be like, oh, bleep.
Hang on, I got to come over.
No, you're too far away. Oh, no, it's dirty. It's dirty because I don't like cleaning the house. And obviously my family doesn't like cleaning the house either, because it doesn't get done. But I have more of it. Like, my toleration isn't as wide as my family's. So they handle more than I can.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with organization, just as cleaning, right? I mean, you get to a point where you just have to do something about it, because you are wasting so much time. You can't find anything. There's clutter everywhere. I mean, there is a point, unless you're like really a hoarder, and that goes into like really more psychological issues there that you want to do something about.
Yeah, right.
Right. So that's that toleration of, okay, I've had enough and I have to take care of it.
Yeah.
That's in that context.
Right.
I know that the time that we talked about tolerations were the little things that aren't getting done that we should get done that don't take that long, but we keep ignoring them. And that was your stove.
Yeah, I feel like that was my stove. It was the knob had broken, and it had got months and months and years. We had this broken out, and it turns out that things just kept falling apart on the oven. And finally, it got to the point where we were at peak frustration and got a new stove. I'm living it right now with my yard. We come into spring, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the grass still grows, and it grows a lot when the rains come and then the sun comes out. It's called photosynthesis, people. Look that up, because it's a serious plague on yards. And
it happens everywhere.
We need to keep that in check. And so I actually, it's to the point where I need help, and that is becoming a toleration. And then I was driving down the street realizing, wow, I'm kind of alone. Our yard looks terrible. It looks so bad compared to our neighbors. We're going to get nasty notes. And so I finally made the call. I made the call yesterday. We got somebody came, looked at our yard. It's going to come help us clean it up. And that feels really good. That's an enormous relief to take that weight off. So
absolutely.
End the tolerations.
And that's what happens when you figure out kind of what you're okay with, and you begin the process, then you're feeling better because it's that weight that's been taken off. You're not looking for perfection. You're not looking for a clean, room with nothing in it. That's not what we're going for. Right. So I think it's kind of figuring out how much of a mess is okay. Are piles okay with you? As long as you maybe know what's in them, or what's not okay. So kind of trying to figure out what you're comfortable with.
Well, and how important this is to the ADHD brain, because how easy it is for piles and things like messy yards and things like dirty houses to become, you become immune to it, right? They become so invisible to you. And then the emotional roller coaster, when you actually do notice it, can just shoot off like a rocket, right? You're that you can get super depressed very, very fast when you haven't even seen what you need to be depressed about for a long period of time. And so that's just something to be aware of, that it's okay to practice that daily sort of mindful peace and forgiveness of yourself and your own shortcomings, perceived shortcomings, to give yourself credit for the stuff that you do, so that when you discover the ugliness, you're ready.
Right. Well, and I think that's keeping your focus on what you are doing about it, and not keeping your focus in the past, which is something you can't change anyway. So let's not focus on that, and focus on, I'm making a difference today. I'm making an opportunity for myself to take care of this today. And it is a process, because depending on how much clutter you have in your home, it can take a long time. Yeah. And so it's not a fast process. So I think you're right. You got to be really forgiving of yourself, and keep focusing on moving forward, and just knowing that you're not looking for perfection. You're not looking for everything to be labeled with those clutter boxes. It really is like, take the expectation down a bit, and just figure out what is good enough for you. And then I have just, some general tips that I think are so important, but we kind of forget about them. And how can you be more efficient during the time that you're working? So, when you are thinking of a project, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get some stuff done this weekend, work when you're feeling your best. And, if you're a morning person, then make sure you set up that time to work on your projects in the morning. If you are really fatigued in the afternoon, and your medicine starts to kind of wear off, and you're not feeling great, don't expect that you're going to get much done during that time. Mm-hmm. So you really have to kind of figure out how you feel. Take your meds, because it is important to stay, it's going to help you stay focused on the project. And you'll get more done in less time. And that's a good thing. That's a good feeling. It's also better to work in smaller increments of time, and be more consistent, than it is for you to think you're going to get it all done in one weekend. So, again, if you're working on a project, work on it for 15, 20 minutes at a time, and leave it. And you can document what you're doing, or, make sure that you kind of know where you left off. But to try to think you're going to do something for 4 hours is pretty overwhelming. And most likely you're not going to get started at all. You're going to leave it, because you're going to find something better to do.
Yeah, well, and you should, right? You should, just to keep your brain moving. You should set, even if they feel arbitrary, even if you feel you're on a roll, it's okay to set yourself a break and walk around and get some fresh air and change that. And I got to tell you, I've been noticing myself lately. I'm in one of those slumps that comes every now and again. Maybe you've lived this too, you guys. But I'm in a task switching slump right now, where
the transitions
are inordinately difficult for me right now, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why it sneaks up.
I noticed you kind of winced a little bit when I said you could leave it. You kind of winced a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that was sort of a subconscious, like,
I'm sure.
it's a transition. I don't want to do that transition.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And it's even the transitions that should be like, I need to get out of bed because mainly I have to go to the bathroom. Who are we kidding here? But I don't even like doing that. I really resonate against task switching right now. And this doesn't happen often for me. But man, when it does, it's really hard. And so in some ways, I feel like I need to set an alarm for everything I do. And that includes taking the breaks. Anyway, sorry I interrupted.
Yeah. No. I think that's a very valid point. So are you working through that now? I'm curious. Are the alarms helping you get through those transitions? Or what do you need to do to kind of get out of that slump a little bit?
Well, there's two parts to it. One is the fact that I have all these alarms and systems that go off and buzz and tell me to do new things at new times. And, again, my daily agenda, which I set at 4:00 the day before, that helps me understand the first thing I need to do in the morning. Over the last several days, I've been getting up and doing, getting back to some exercises. And, I got super sick and I just stopped going to the gym for several weeks. And that plagues my brain. And started doing some just slow down, sit on the couch. I turned on Brain FM, which was a recommendation from our listener John. We did the podcast a little while ago, or live stream a little while ago, that I'd forgotten about, and I've been using Brain FM both while sleeping and in focusing and meditation, and I've been really enjoying it. So we're going to talk about that on the show in an upcoming digital episode. And so those things are helping, but practically I am able to do it. But what really hurts right now is how I feel about it. I'm really struggling with the emotional connection to task switching, that I just hate doing it, and it's tough to be. I'm having to use that language with other people. Task switching is hard for me right now. Please slow down and say what you just said again, because I was not tracking it.
Yeah, right.
So that's that.
Well, Pete, I hope you feel better soon.
Well, thank you.
And able to get through that, because that's got to be kind of frustrating.
Well, it's like a weight, it's like carrying a boulder on your back, It's not, and I'm sure I'm not alone, but it's one of those things that you can't see, and it's like fireworks go off in my head when new signals come in, and I'm not ready for it. So, I feel like a catcher behind home plate, right? And you're ready for the ball, and then right as the pitcher throws the ball, somebody puts a bag over my head. So I know there's an incoming symbol or signal, but I am also know I'm about to get hit in the face by a fastball.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to protect your face.
Yeah, right. And so it makes reaction time tough. And so, those are, it's just the slump, and it's fine. I know that the one thing I do know is that it will pass.
Yeah. That's a good little affirmation to remember. This too shall pass.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm going to transition us back into the organizing conversation.
Not ready. I'm going back to bed.
You're not ready? Are you okay?
No, I'm okay. Let's do
ready?
it. Yeah, let's talk about the organizing thing.
All right.
Why are we,
I don't even remember where I left off.
Well, I can tell you, we're trying to talk about making sure we're successful.
Well, that's right. So, okay. Organizing, again, is kind of boring. It's not really something you're going to probably look forward to doing. So something that will help is for you to figure out a way to make it more engaging. So that could be playing music. It could be listening to your favorite podcast. It could be making some kind of game out of it. How many trash bags can I get rid of today? I mean, anything that will make you kind of a little bit more engaged in the process and make it a little bit more fun is definitely going to help. Getting your family members involved is going to help because obviously the work is going to go faster if you've got more people. And it actually sets a really good example to the younger people in your family if they see that you're willing to let things go and be able to go through that process. So it's a good example. And again, you get more work done in a quicker amount of time. The thing about organizing an ADHD that I think we often don't talk a lot about is it is very difficult to do on your own. So it is definitely recommended that you find an organizing partner, a buddy, somebody that can help you, somebody that you can help. Maybe it's a friend, a family member. You can certainly hire a professional. Just make sure that they have ADHD experience. But going alone, it's hard. You know, you're going to probably get a little stuck on some of the decisions. And if you have somebody there as a body double, to help you stay focused, to help you stay on task, but also to help you go or walk through those harder decisions, and ask those harder questions and be able to process that out loud with someone, can make a big difference. And so, I definitely encourage people to find somebody that they can, work with.
Absolutely.
Okay. So where to start? Because that sometimes can also be, a challenging decision to make because every space feels important. Everything feels important.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you said something earlier that you feel like there are certain spaces that are causing you the most pain.
Yes.
Shouldn't that drive your decision to figure out where to start?
You bet.
Hallelujah.
Absolutely. First question to ask yourself is what's driving you the most crazy? What's giving you the most pain? What has the most impact on your home? So, kitchens, living rooms, is that like an area that everybody is congregating to? Then it's probably pretty cluttery. So that might be an area. And I also think it's important to eliminate the areas that yes, they're important and they bug you, but you just maybe don't have the time to do or they're too overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so let's just do that later. For me, no big surprise. That's my garage right now. Like I just don't even want to go there yet because I just don't.
That's my garage. That's my oven knob. I can't believe we're still talking about your garage.
Oh, it's an ongoing battle for a lot of different reasons.
You could just sell your house. I mean, maybe that's the best strategy. Get a house without a garage.
Well, right now we pretty much don't have a garage, so it probably wouldn't really be that
actually
much
pretty
different.
Close.
Yeah. So for me, I know that's something I'm not going to deal with right now, but there's other areas that do pain me that I'm going to deal with. So that's what I would tell the listeners is just ask ask those questions. What can you eliminate right away? What is the most annoying thing?
It is a filtering mechanism though, because I can totally understand that feeling that, oh my goodness, everything is the worst thing.
Yes.
All of the things are the worst thing. So I feel like, what you just did was really effective for me, which was this, okay, I know that there's a thing that causes me the worst pain. Or I don't know that there's a thing that causes me the worst pain, but what are the other elements that go into making that decision? How can you narrow down your choices? So everything sucks. What's next? Well, maybe it's entrances and exits, right? Maybe it's entrances and exits to the home that I need to make sure are clean. Maybe it's everybody leaves their shoes by the front door and I need to put them in a basket or put them in a box so that the entrances are clean. Maybe that defines how you need to start. So give yourself some freedom to ask the questions, as you say, what hurts the most? What spaces are most impactful to the family or to traffic in my home? What spaces are most impactful because I spend the most time there? All of those things can help you narrow down when you feel like, oh my God, it's everything.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I have one more thing to add there.
Yeah.
Is to ask yourself the question of what is a should question? Like, should I feel like I should be doing this versus really what's acceptable to you.
Right.
Because I think there's some pressure there of, well, I shouldn't have shoes in front of the doorway like that. I shouldn't do that. That's not acceptable to society. That sounds like, this sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but but we feel that way. I mean, we feel like we should have a certain look in our house. And so I would ask you to think about, well, what's good enough for you, and get rid of the shoulds. Anything that you're feeling like you should do, and it's not something that you really want or care about, then don't do it.
Right.
Again, eliminate it.
Eliminate the shoulds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then at that point, you can kind of, again, zero in on where you want to start. I do recommend that you start small, in smaller areas, just to get the momentum going, and so that you also see your progress. And so maybe it's a drawer, maybe it's a small closet, maybe it's just a corner of a room, or the floor, or a counter space, right? I mean, we just want to start seeing progress. So I think it is a little less overwhelming. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not doing my garage, that I don't even want to do a corner in my garage right now. It's too much. But I can certainly work on my closet, or, some other area of the house. And I'm not talking about organizing. I'm talking about just cleaning too, basic cleaning. Now, I did talk about this at the last annual organizing podcast.
Okay, so this is a recap.
Yes, because these are the steps that just don't change. So the first thing you want to do when you start a space is you've got to purge and sort first before you do anything else. And I actually talked about this on my Facebook Live last week, because somebody had a question. One is they wanted to know the difference between purging and sorting. And one of the roadblocks that they were finding is they were going straight to organizing and decorating before they were finished purging. And it's interesting because I did a webinar not too long ago where that was one of the mistakes that so many of us make, is that we skip that step, or we start that step and then we go straight to decorating and organizing. And the problem with that is you don't end up getting rid of everything that you would have normally gotten rid of.
Well, I run into this thing where if I have stuff that is kind of a decoration or a tchotchke, I'll continue to decorate with it if it's there. If I move, if I change context too quickly, and then I just end up keeping crap.
Yeah. Well, and it's exactly. It's harder to organize when you have more stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you have less stuff, especially the stuff that you don't need, it's going to make that step easier. So the difference between purging and sorting is you really are doing them at the same time. Purging is the decision making. So that is when you're deciding, do I keep this or do I let it go? So you're making the decision. Now that you've decided to keep it, sorting is a helpful step because you can put it into some kind of category. You can put it, like this is going to be, kitchen pots and pans. It's like using the same item, putting the same items together. So you're just kind of categorizing it to make it easier to organize. But you do it together. I mean, you do those two things together to make it easier. And then the organizing piece is, okay, now that I know everything I'm keeping, I'm going to put this stuff back and do the decorating or put it back into the drawers where it makes the most sense and all of that. So that's just those steps to kind of keep in mind. And then start with those easy decisions. There's a lot of anxiety when it comes to decluttering. A lot of people feel that anxious, pit in their stomach of, I don't know what to do. And so make those easy decisions first. If it's trash, put it in the trash, recycle, all of that. You have to know within seconds what you're going to do. Those are the easy decisions. If you don't need it, love it, or want it, then get rid of it. The things that you're not sure, keep it at this point, because this is your first sort. You're not going to only sort one time and never go back and look at your stuff again. So if you really don't know, ease that anxiety by just keeping it. I can't remember the book, but it's that, it's the lady that the question is, does this bring you joy?
Yeah. Wasn't it, that was Marie Kondo.
Is that who it is? Yeah. So I've never read the book. I've had some people tell me about it. But the one thing that I've gotten out of it without reading it and just listening to people talk about it is, does this bring you joy?
Yeah, right.
I love that question. I mean, I think it's, I don't think you need to, I'm not one to fold my shirts perfectly like she does, and that's probably why I haven't read it, is because
it's a higher, I mean, there's definitely there's some good lessons around the emotional connection to our things, but there's also, it's kind of heavyweight in terms of, how you describe and care for your things as a relationship to your emotional connection to them. Like, she loves her underwear and folds it properly every time she puts it away because she loves it. And as soon as she stops loving it, I guess she throws away her underwear or moves it on to somebody else. I found it a little bit oppressive in the, you have to love your stuff to keep your stuff thing.
Right. So I haven't read it for that
reason.
There's
definitely some good lessons in there. Definitely. It's a totally different take. And I don't want to discourage people from reading it. I personally had some challenges, but I definitely got some lessons.
What you want. And I definitely like the question, does this bring you joy? Because I think that does cover a lot of the emotional piece. If it doesn't bring you joy, then don't keep it. And that's sort of been the question around our house. In fact, it just got brought up the other day from Paige, my daughter. She said, well, if it doesn't bring you joy, Mom, you can get rid of it. I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely right. I know, right? Yeah. So definitely, those easy decisions are going to make it a lot less overwhelming. If you think that if you think what would be or should be an easy decision and it's becoming really hard, that's when you want to take a break. Like, that's when you're getting tired and you need to take a break. Because I'll tell you, when you do these things, it's exhausting, not only physically, but definitely mentally. And so, like we mentioned earlier, you want to set that alarm, take a break, walk away from it, come back later, and those easy decisions will certainly become easier for you. And but the key here is to come back. So, I always say, if organizing your home or decluttering is the vision for you, that's your project, treat it like a journey, treat it like an ongoing project. And so if you do leave it over the weekend, when are you going to come back? So plan that out a little bit, put it on your calendar, put it on your to-do list so you don't forget. Whatever you need to do to just remember that this is important to you. This is something that hasn't been finished yet. Remember what your good enough is, because if it really is good enough at that point, then let it go and not feel bad about it. Mm-hmm. Just let it go. Like, it's cleaned up enough.
Right.
Great.
Right.
So that's kind of where I end that, because this will get you, I think, going, hopefully. And started on your projects for the spring.
I love it.
Because it's spring.
It's inspirational. The grass is growing like a maniac.
Yes.
This is a great opportunity to jump back in. We always say this, right? We're not huge fans of things like, New Year's resolutions, but, there's a reason that these things happen all around a specific time. Use the energy of your community and allow it to motivate you and to get you to move forward through some things that you normally wouldn't want to tackle. It's okay. It's okay to do that. Yeah.
Well, and I want to make sure that people know, if you want to learn more about the what these steps are that I teach with organizing, do definitely check out my online courses. I have one on organizing your space your way. I have one that's called the Paper Solution, which is all about paper. Yay, fun stuff.
Oh, paper.
And both of these are step-by-step programs that do help you organize your space, your paper. And there's community boards within those programs too. So if you get stuck and you have a question, you can ask and we'll get back to you. And it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So it goes into a lot more depth than what we did today. But I think today is a good starting point. And that's what we got to do. We got to get started, Pete.
Got to get started. Got to get started, people.
Yes.
This is a good way to do it. So thank you, and Nikki. Thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to the show. We sure appreciate your time and your attention. On behalf of the good and kindly Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next time right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.